guys for coming. Today we're going to be talking about how to protect your energy. And there is a reason why I like to teach this is because I've learned not too many years ago that I was an empath. Do you know this terminology, empath? If you do, raise your hand. Okay, so I don't need to explain it too much, but I didn't know. I grew up in Italy, and as a typical Italian, right, loved by the family, yet very type A, right? They raised me on like get good grades and, you know, do many sports. And I was a black belt in karate by 18, and I was like at the top of my class, you know, and I had my whole life path ahead of me. And yet at 18, I was like, I started to break down, and I heard a voice of like, who are you? Like, you need to find yourself, right? Because I realized I had become who my parents wanted me to be. And my path was to become a doctor, right? So then I flee the country. No, I didn't flee, but I decided to travel the world, finding myself. And through that path, I discovered so many things about myself, especially one of them was an empath. Then I thought I was healed, and then I married a narcissist. And then that broke me completely when I was 26 years old. I have two kids. And at that time, they were under 3 years old. And then COVID hit, and I decided to leave. I was like, I'm leaving because otherwise my body was starting to develop an autoimmune disorder. And then I realized that if you have an autoimmune disorder, fibromyalgia, if you're suffering from any health issue and you are an empath, those are just symptoms that you lack either boundary or protection, okay? We're going to talk about all of it. We're going to guide you through a guided meditation at the same time. But empaths are sensitive souls who are sensitive to energies. You guys are only 20% of the population, which means that 80% of the population doesn't understand who you are, not recognize you at a corporate level, at a job level. They're not going to sit here and tell you, hey, you're sensitive. Like, how do you feel today, right? You have to be productive. We live in a society that doesn't really acknowledge that, but you have to acknowledge. And most people, what they do is, I'm so sensitive, I'm going to block my sensitivity because it comes in as a curse, right? You feel not only your emotion, you also feel everyone in the room. You feel everyone in a meeting. You feel like everyone at a family reunion, right? And then it gets overwhelming. And then what we do is the overwhelming paralysis. And then we shut down the feelings or we block it. And then what we do is we disconnect from our superpower. So a lot of the time when I see clients that are like, they were diagnosed with like ADHD, you know, they label themselves as like someone who has had attention deficit, right? Or they have an autoimmune disorder. I'm just saying that's a mismanagement of your empathic abilities. Don't label yourself. Start learning how to manage your emotions. One of the things is protection. What happens is that the empath was or has been manipulated by energy stronger than them through guilt, shame, people pleasing, and they lack boundaries, right? Because what they do since a very young age, they're like, okay, in order to be loved, I'm going to people please, and I'm going to shut down and or acknowledge or neglect, because the caregiver oftentimes neglects our feelings. And so we become the savior. And then we suffer from savior complex. We try to save everyone else and then place all of the other people's problem into our backpack. I call it as a clairvoyant. Like, I see when people walk in and there's like a huge like backpack, you know, that they carry. And then what does that backpack do? It goes into the body. So when people have physical symptoms, that is the last layer that it goes through. We have a spiritual injury, so we have like the spiritual, the emotional. Emotions get trapped, and then they leak through the physical. Okay, so weight gain is just a symptom. high blood pressure is just a symptom of like deep repressed anger. Depression is, yes, people are like, oh, I'm labeled with depression. That's like you're suppressing all of those emotions. You can get out at any point in time. You just have to choose to get better. Now, the empaths, in order to get empowered, there is a whole program that I designed individually for every client. But at the same time, there are general lessons. Master your intuition, which is your superpower. Master your energy and protect your energy. And the bonus is learning to let go. So a lot of the time we don't know how to release. We hold on to. How many of you hold on to the pain and the resentment? You did this 10 years ago, right? Then it stays and it stays and it deposits itself. So we have to learn to let go. And emotions play a big part in this. Now, what I want to preface this here is that in the energy world, your thought creates an emotion, right? So if I think about someone or something, it creates an immediate emotion. Emotions get translated into energy. So if you follow me on social media, I talk about, if you think about someone, you're sending them energy. If you feel like someone else is right next to you because they're thinking of you and they're sending you energy, that's true. I see this all the time. I see that's my job, is to clear the cords attached to you. Because you can say, I blocked that narcissist. I blocked that boss. You didn't block them. In the energy world, there is no blocking. In the physical, there is. In the energy, they keep draining you, right? So you're probably wondering, how do we do that? How do we protect our energy? All right. So energy protection comes through supporters and directors. And after the speech, you guys can come in and take a screenshot and take a business card and stay in touch, because you have to learn this, or it will ruin your life. So the supporters, everyone you hear from spiritual healers out there, which is, I'm a spiritual healer, but I go over here. You know, I focus on the directors, but I'm saying prayers, energy bubble, mirror, spiritual tools, white sage, Palo Santo, water and nature. I'm going to go through that. How many people, you know, you see them here too, like we sage ourselves, right? We cleanse ourselves. We use selenite. Placing a bubble of protection. How many of you know that? Great, that works. Crystals. I have a crystal. I have crystals on. Those are supporters. That means they don't do the job. The real job is the inner work. Those are what we call, yes, protection immediately. But what happens is your boundaries matter more than anything else. Then the high vibe technique, which we'll do, and then the wound center. Okay, so boundaries. A lot of people lack boundaries. A lot of empaths. Why? Because they think they're not a good person if you set boundaries with your mom, your daughter, your father, whatever, your lover. Deep down, I'm not good enough. Deep down, I'm a bad daughter. I'm a bad person, right? So because there was guilt implanted at a very young age. Boundaries, sometimes most people feel it's really hard because people walk away. When you stop pleasing people, certain people will walk away. And then you don't feel lovable. And then it starts triggering the I'm being rejected and I'm not lovable. So then we've got to work through the wound center, which I'm going to get in a second. But boundaries can come into the physical, emotional, and energetic. Do you know physical boundaries? Blocking someone, right? You can't come to my door. You can't come into my office. Stay away, right? That's a physical boundary. Emotional. What's emotional boundary? Is when you get to decide, when you say, a lot of time people say, he made me feel that way. He makes me feel stupid. She makes me feel stupid. No. Nobody makes you feel anything unless you want to feel that way. If they make you feel, it means that you accepted their truth as your own. That's a pattern. It's not their truth. It's not your truth. It's their truth. So you have to discern the projection that someone else has upon you that is different than your own truth. That's the emotional boundary. And say, okay, everyone will think about me. in a certain way. When you guys walk out today, you will have an opinion about me. You will have an opinion about the person who sits next to you. Then do you get to take it home with you? That's your own decision. Okay? It's much harder to do when with someone who is being a lover, a family member, mom, dad, daughter, brother. Okay? People who we are born with, like in the family system, and or we married, those are much harder lessons to overcome, not impossible. So I want you, if there is one thing that I want you to get out of today's lesson workshop, is I can heal anything. I can overcome anything. A lot of people get stuck in my suffering, in your suffering, and that becomes their identity. And empaths create their identity through the suffering oftentimes. So you have to break through that and realize you can be someone else without that illness. You can be someone else without that heartbreak. Or I see a lot of the time physical, sexual, emotional abuse. I deal with this all the time as a spiritual healer. But at the same time, we also have to let it go. There is a point in time where we're like, okay, can we forgive ourselves that in that time, we didn't make the safest choice. We didn't know. We trusted, right? And then energetic boundaries is what people don't understand. And I get it. I didn't understand it either because it's much harder to deal with energies when we're overwhelmed with the emotions, right? So what I tell people is, if you want to learn to be powerful as an empath, you have to learn to set time aside every day to be in your own energy, okay? Every morning, and try to get out of the excuses of like, I need to get up at 7, I need to feed my kids, I have kids, and I still do it, right? You have to come out of those excuses and self-sabotaging thoughts and realize I'm committing to my own energy, to be with myself for 10 minutes so I can feel myself. I can feel how I feel. Then when I walk into that meeting or I meet that friend, I already know if that anger is not mine. I already know if that pain is not mine. Or especially people that are like, I keep going on dates and I keep attracting narcissists. And I'm like, I get it. So we're going to talk about the wound center, how to break patterns. But most importantly is, can you realize, can you feel? So your intuition is going to speak through the body. As for an empath, unless you have other gifts. I'm clairvoyant as by nature, since I was a little girl. So I see energies. I didn't listen to that. So there is also that part. You don't trust yourself. But your intuition is going to speak through the body. That means that you have to clear your energy every morning. And then when you meet that person, when you hang out with that friend, you understand also how they feel. You also understand that that's not yours. Because then we go home and empaths are like, I'm so mad. I'm like, I have all these things, and you start getting depressed and it's not even yours. I hear this all the time. I'm like, okay, let's cleanse it. Cleansing can come through the supporters. Water, so making sure that you take a shower every night, every morning, every night, go into the ocean, go into the lake. Nature. So what I did for a whole year, because I couldn't get out and I didn't have any money to pay a spiritual healer until I realized I could move energy. I went into nature. I took a hike, not a long one, 5 minutes. I found my place. I sat down and I let nature cleanse me. And it worked so well that I was like, this is so much free energy. It's like plugging in into energy force. So I would get the energy that I needed to work through my day and to be a mom and to be present. Spiritual tools, Palo Santo. I sage my house every day, so make sure that you do that. If you're in an office, grab a spray. Mirror technique. Do you know mirror technique? So oftentimes when we are connected to what we call dark energies or narcissistic energies or energy vampires, and energy vampires can be a narcissist, or it can be like someone who has never gotten out of their trauma and they play the victim all the time. And that doesn't mean they are narcissists, which means they're evil, they're hollow. That just means they just play so much of a victim that they keep complaining, right? Do you know those people? And you're like, you get exhausted and you're like, okay, we just keep going in circles. They keep complaining and I get drained, right? The first thing you're going to say is, I walked out of that visit, I was so completely drained. That's a sign of an energy vampire. Again, energy vampires are not totally evil, okay? And then create your self-protection. When you just say like, oh, please protect my daughter, protect my dad, right? You're sending them energy. You're sending them protection. Don't ever underestimate the power of words. Mirror technique I was sharing. So those people that are darker in the energy form. So what you can do is through the visualization of meditation, you can do it in an instant at the same time. So I want you to close your eyes and think about, so actually, let's connect first. Both feet planted on the ground, so the energy can run freely. And then close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths in. And with each exhale, let go of the to-do list, the shopping list, anything that is in your head right now, and just be present. And then at the top, open up your crown chakra and visualize a bubble of golden light entering through you, traveling through you, through the spine, and then exiting the sacrum and anchoring you down. Imagine like an anchor that is going down and it's so heavy that pulls you down into earth. Good. Once you're grounded, I want you to think about that person that drains your energy. And that is kind of like more narcissistic. So I want you guys to really pinpoint that person and keep him or her at a distance. And then what I want you to visualize is a mirror, not facing you, facing them. So you're like seeing the back of the mirror. The mirror is right in front of you, in between you two. So when they face you and they start projecting or attacking you, it gets mirrored back to them. And I want you to visualize it for 5 more seconds to really visualize them talking and everything gets bounced back. Them talking and everything gets bounced back to them. So you force them to look at themselves. And then when you're ready, come on back. Okay, good. Use this technique every time. You might need to replace it more than once and remember. So sometimes I do these things when just as an instant. I don't need to sit here and close my eyes to place a mirror. You know, I meet people all the time. I'm speaking all the time, right? Sometimes I was doing a book launch and then like this lady that was kind of like a competition, but she, you know, she came over and she like pretended, you know, those people that pretend to be your friends. And then I was like, well, I just placed the mirror, but I was still talking to that person. You don't need to tell them, hey, wait a second, I'm placing a mirror. You don't need to do any of that. You can just sit here and just be like, I know what I'm doing in the energetic world. Okay. And then she walked away and I was like, great. See you. That's what I did. I was like, I want you to go away from my energy. So you can do it at any point in time. Okay. All of what we're discussing today works. Okay. I didn't believe energy was that powerful until I work with energy every day. It is. All right. Any questions around that? Or is it clear? Okay. So, let's work through the physical boundaries a little bit more because I'm going to give you a quick exercise right now. So I want you to think about your so you are the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to go into manifesting the next phase of your life, if you want more love, I want you to look at your circle. 5 people that you spend the most time with. I don't even have 5. I just removed them all. Okay? So what it means is that I became so selective with who I spend time with. If people ask me, do you want to meet for coffee? I'm like, sometimes I say no most of the time, unless they are an energy that doesn't affect mine. Okay? It's different than when I'm working. Different. But I want you to think about that. Do you have the 5 people you spend the most time with? Yes? All right. Then look at them. You can close your eyes if it's easier, or keep your eyes open. Do they support who you are? Or do they take from you? And I want you to count them and be like, Mary, oh, she takes from me. Joseph, oh, he's good. He doesn't affect my energy. I want you to go through them. Okay? Are they uplifting you? Either at your level, which means they don't affect your energy, or are they someone who can uplift you? Someone who is always there to cheer you on. And if you have more than 3 that are like in the lower state of like they take from me, I want you to have a reality check and ask yourself, what do I want to do when I walk out? What do I want to do? And the one thing is, don't go into stuckness. Don't be like, I can't leave. Because you can leave. You're free. You have a choice. Every single day, the universe is giving you that choice. I was the first one to leave and say, have no money. I might lose everything. And I almost did. But it didn't happen. And the universe showed me that once you're clear and you say, it is for me and for my highest best good, there is a whole life ahead of you that is bigger and brighter than what you have currently. And people that are more aligned, that will support you. Okay? So I want you to think about it. Raise your hands if you have more than 3 that take from you. This group is good. Last time we had 90% of people raising their hands. Either you're lying, or you're good. You're not lying. Got it. Okay. All right. So, okay, we talked about the emotions every day. What emotions are mine? What are theirs? Take the time to stay in your energy and tell family members, hey, I need my time. Because the more I get my time, the more I'm supporting you. And that's the mom guilt, that's the sister guilt, that's the daughter guilt, right? And they're like, no, you have to please me. And you're going to be like, I need to put my oxygen max first, right? I need to be in my energy and solid. If not, I can't help you. If not, I'm running from an empty cup. And then I'm doing damage to me. And that means that you are self-abandoning yourself every single time you do that. That's a reality check I had to be really clear on with myself, right? Okay, so the high vibe technique, which is the easier to explain, the harder to get, because it requires training. So we're going to do a quick meditation, but I wanted to explain it. Do you see my beautiful drawing? Which is you're starting here, which is like, okay, let's just say you meditating, you're like at a plus, you have all these pluses around you, positive energy, you're blessed out, right? You're walking out of your meditation, your morning walk, like I'm good. Then you start going into the supermarket, the meeting, talking to your parents, talking to, your friends. And then all of this, the negative are people that have, they come at you, they talk to you, they take from you, they want your empathy. Okay? Then you have a choice here. Protection comes from I lower my energy and I embody, I take on, I absorb, and I cling on to what they feel, what they just told me. So let's just say that a friend calls you and then they're like, oh my God, my dog died. And they're sobbing at the phone, right? They're like panicking. you get to decide, do I go into feeling what they're feeling? So you pretty much go down, and then you start crying for a week like they are, okay? And you're like processing their feelings. You're like, why am I crying? It wasn't even my dog, right? Or you get to be up here, and and that requires selfishness a little bit. That requires you to embody a little bit of the medicine of the narcissist. I know you don't like this, but narcissists came into your life to teach you a little bit of their medicine, which is become a little bit more selfish. You're always going to act from the higher good because you're an empath. So you love people. You're not hollow. You're source energy. But you just need to understand you can't sink with them. You have to keep your boat stable, right? So the way to do that is, so again, most people use the supporters, right? And the most powerful technique is the high vibe. So I need to keep my high vibration despite what's happening around me. So how do you do that? We're going to go into meditation and let you feel it. Because when you walk out, you're going to have muscle memory. All right. So close your eyes. Get grounded. You guys are grounded, but I want you to still feel if you're connected. Open your crown chakra. And golden bubble of light coming through you, anchoring down into the earth. And then what we're going to do, we're going to place a bubble of protection all around you. Okay, so imagine this bubble of either golden light, white light, rainbow, red, blue. It doesn't really matter as long as it's your bubble. And then I want you to think about a memory. So call in a memory where you're laughing so hard and you're having so much fun. It could be a childhood memory. It could be a yesterday memory. Think about how good you feel when you're in this memory, right? Or how loved you feel. Think about it. It's like you feel free, you feel at peace, you feel so high vibe. And all of these problems go away. And then as you are in this blissful state, I want you to think about that friend or that person that comes in with that energy and either triggers the hell out of you or is always negative or has something to complain. And really visualize them at a 6 feet distance. Okay, so keep your bubble and imagine them in their own bubble, whatever color you see. Now they're going to tell you, hey, this is happening to me. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Okay, really visualize them talking to you. And I want you to imagine, again, mirror technique or bubble, which means that everything that comes in, it goes into the universe, not even back to them. It bounces back, okay? And it can go up, down, but not in you. And you can hold them compassionately. Or if they try to trigger you with anger, then you look at them and you're like, it's all good. At the end of the day, the salsa you bought doesn't freaking matter that you're talking about. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I want you to stay in that positive vibration with a lower vibration in front of you and raise your hand when you can do that. When you can decide not to get affected. That requires training. Into the energetic world and into the physical. And then when you are ready, take one last deep breath in. And come on back into the room, knowing one thing, that love is the most powerful energy that can banish all of the other ones. So energies, emotions are neither bad or good, okay? But if you want to get away from something that is lower energy, anger, sadness, grief, you need to be at a higher state. So you need to find the reason through which you can forgive them or forgive yourself. And most people are like, okay, I forgave them. And then I'm like, there's all this anger here. You can't spiritual bypass. Sometimes you have to feel those emotions. You have to go through the anger and be like, I'm fucking angry. And I tell people, scream at a pillow. It's fine. You're not going to die. People are like, I'm going to die if I let myself feel it. I'm like, you're not. I promise you. You're going to be alive. But I want you to think about a bucket of energy. Right now, you're in the bucket of muddy water. What you're going to do is, okay, I'm going to empty the bucket. I guide this we have a 3-month program, and I'm like, did you cry this morning? Did you cry this morning? Did you write it down? Did you punch a pillow? That's in the protocol. And if they say no, and I'm like, go and do it. You have to empty the bucket before you go to the higher state. Then when you process those emotions, you can get to a place of like, you know what? There's nothing else I can process. I guess I just need to feel okay. Like you're going to feel neutral. And then you're going to start going into the forgiveness. Okay? Even if someone has hurt you so bad. Even if when someone hurts you so bad, you can still find that place. Sometimes you forgive yourself. And that's literally when you're free. Spiritual freedom is you forgive yourself. Okay. And then I wanted to explain the wound center, because the wound center is the place through which we attract. So I help people break patterns. A pattern is I keep attracting highly critical people. I keep attracting the narcissist. And at first it was my mother, then it became my lover, my ex, and then it moved into my boss, and then it moved into my neighbor. And I'm like, that's a pattern, right? You can't escape lessons. You cannot. I speak from someone who decided to leave Italy because I realized there was a narcissist, and I was like, it wasn't even like my mom, it was like my neighbor. But then I was like, okay, I'm leaving. See you, bye. I recreated the same thing in America. I was like, okay, you have to go through them. So I want you to look at your life right now. Who is triggering you? Who's triggering you? Who keeps coming in and showing you what you need to change? And if you're like, I'm attracting this person in my life, what are they mirroring back to you? That's the wound center. So point of attraction, pattern. Okay, I'm afraid of abandonment. So I keep attracting partners that they just abandon me at some point, right? I'm not good enough. So you keep attracting people that criticize you, that ask you to be more, that tell you that you're not good enough in a passive-aggressive way or in a very direct way. Codependent relationships. What do they tell you? Okay, that you are not self-sufficient yourself. So you're looking for that other person. It's not about them. It's about you right now. Fear of rejection. So then you attract people that reject you all the time. Huh? So I was so afraid of rejection. Then at the beginning of my journey, so I left my ex, narcissist. And then I was so frozen in fear. I mean, I had PTSD, right? So like you all know what that feels like. I was a totally different person. And then I went through this healing journey, right? To understand how to reprogram the brain, how to close the wound center. And then I had to get out of the comfort zone. One of my coaches at that time was like, you need to go out into the world and ask 10 people uncomfortable questions. It's like, if you don't do it, you pay me $1,000. And I knew he wasn't joking. So I was like, what do I have to lose at this point? So I just went, Brandon would be like, can you give me $100? And that person was like, are you crazy? And he's like, that coach was like, you need to learn to receive no and realize you're not going to die. And I was like, great. So I did that. It was so uncomfortable. I was like, do you want to go out to dinner with me? And they're like, random people, right? And then I realized that kind of got me out of that brain freeze. I'm not saying you have to do it, but I would suggest that's medicine, right? And then I realized that I was okay being rejected. That the people that are meant to be in your life will come to you. And you have to flip the story, right? You have to be willing to lose someone so that better people can come into your life. You have to be that person. So that when you heal that, and that's through the subconscious. Do you know much about subconscious? Raise your hand. Okay, so what I teach is, which I didn't know, because people think that you're making conscious decision, right? I'm making the conscious decision to not attract narcissists. Your subconscious runs everything. That's 95% of your brain. Okay? That's why we have patterns. So we have to take them out and reprogram them and really deal with that stored emotion that is trapped in the body. That's why talk therapy. How many of you have been in therapy? My clients are therapists, and also I have best friends that are therapists. And I also use therapy. That's great. But what does it do, therapy? What most people say, okay, I've acknowledged it. I am hitting a wall after 10 years, and I can't heal it. Because you talk about the story when you actually have to feel it. Okay? If you don't want to go to a spiritual healer, don't do it. I'm telling you right now, go home and cry. Go home and feel it. That's the fastest way to remove those blocks and shift the point of attraction. At some point, when you start shifting, you're going to be like, shifting to a point of like, I'm good enough. And sometimes you have to write a journal every day. So that's another technique I give, is write a bragging journal. What do you love about yourself? Tell me one thing that you love. And people are like, I don't know. I'm like, do you like your hair? And they're like, yeah, okay, I can start with my hair. Okay. I had body dysmorphia, by the way. That's my book. I don't have it over here. That's in my book. I wrote a cookbook because 5 years ago, I started with like teaching people how to heal their physical body and lose weight holistically, right? It was spiritual healing at the end of the day. But I want you to know that even if I look like this, when I had body dysmorphia, I looked in the mirror and didn't feel good enough. It doesn't matter what size, shape you are. Everyone has that. So I want you to look. And I started with self-love. What do I really feel about myself? What do you feel about yourself that it's okay? Just stay in the okay zone. Do you think that you are good at, I tell people, are you good at math? Are you good at languages? So tell me what you're good at. And then you start there. Okay? And then you work with yourself. You don't compare it to an actress. Like, I want to be like that. I'm like, just work with you, okay? Let's work with you. All right. Any questions around that? If not, I really want to help you with 10 minutes. So you feel the subconscious reprogram. Okay, so I want to give you a taste of that technique to help you. So I want you to close your eyes for the next 10 minutes. And let's help you shift. All right. You're all grounded? Yes. Feel it. So start scanning your body from the top of your head down towards your shoulders, down towards your chest, your belly, your hips, and down towards your feet. And what calls your attention the most in the body? Just like that. Don't overthink it. Could be my arm, my foot, my stomach, my hair. If you find it, let me know by raising your hand. What calls your attention the most? The first thing that comes, don't overthink it. It's not about overthinking. Okay. Then I want you to get closer to that sensation. And I want you to ask your imagination to tell you, is it give Give me an image or shape. Ask your body. Ask your imagination. Is it a rectangle? Is it amorphous? Is it yellow? Is it red? Is it black? Is it heavy? Is it a ball? Okay, once you find it, don't overthink it. We want to call in a spirit guide, whoever shows up right next to you. So that could be a wise ancestor, a pet, family member, archangel, deity of your faith. And then I want you to imagine yourself to go into that place, into that ball, into that amorphous energy. And a number pops up. What number do you see? Don't overthink it. If you see two numbers that are greater than your age, pick one. And then a memory of you being that age shows up. Just like that. Don't overthink it. Great. Once you find that memory, remember you're safe. Nobody can hurt you. Could be a good memory too. And then in that memory, someone you need to speak to shows up. Maybe he's right there with you. Maybe it's mom. Maybe is someone else. And then I want you to, in your own words, in your mind, tell them what you believe, what you want to say that you've never been able to say. I want you to know that you're safe to say it, even if you just want to push them away and say, I don't want you anymore. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Feel free to, this is your time. Empty that bucket. Say whatever you need to say. And it could be good, it could be emotional. It could be simply, I need to let you go. Or it could be, I love you. Whatever that needs to happen, trust. And once you've done that, I want you to imagine a stream of colored energy going from your body to their body. And everything you said is just getting transmuted into energy, into their body. So they're receiving everything. I just want you to understand your brain doesn't realize what's happening now into versus reality. So you're recreating a memory right now. This conversation has been happening, and you can either let them speak and say what they want to say, what their higher version wants to say to you, or not. Or you can just say, hey, I want you to go right now. And if it feels right that maybe this connection needs to be over or needs to be less or needs to be less draining, I want you to do something for me. I want you to feel where the cord is attaching you to them. And I want you to cut it. That doesn't mean you're blocking them. Some people are afraid of that. That just means you're stopping the drainage. So you cut it, you call in Archangel Michael, you can grab golden scissor, you can pull it out, and then release it into the universe. And then I want you to say in your own mind's eye, I call back my power from all people and places and situations that have been taking it without my consent. Now. And give back my power that is not mine to carry. So be it, and so it is. And then when you're ready, come on back into the room. And open your eyes. How did that feel? Good? This is just a taste of subconscious reprogramming. Obviously, those are like an hour-long sessions. And by the way, people are like, can you teach me? The purpose of subconscious reprogramming is you can't teach it because you can't access it to conscious brain, okay? But it's a technique that you can adopt and do the first layer to close the wound center. So oftentimes, if you want to protect your energy and close it, because you want to get that person out of your life, it's triggering you neglect, it's triggering you not good enough. I want you to do this. Where do I feel it in my body? How does it look like? Close your eyes. And then I want you to go in it, and you don't need to find a memory. I just want you to go in it. What's being trapped there? What is it? What emotion? And if it's anger, feel it. Just allow yourself to be angry and just cuss out loud. Okay? If it's fear, call in an archangel, angel, and then you then realize that you're more powerful than these people, that they can't do anything to you anymore. Okay? So visualization, feel it in the body, find the emotion and release the trapped emotion. That's how you're going to protect yourself throughout the rest of your life. And then there are layers, and don't ever be afraid to go through the layers. Right? Sara here with Love Holistic Living. We're almost out of time. We have business cards here. We work primarily online, or we do retreats. Okay, so I'm like right at the entrance with my booth if you want to talk. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.